Hey guys, how's it going, and welcome back to the channel. Just a few hours ago now, we got some incredible news of the future of the Star Wars franchise, more specifically, who will be leading it. In an interview published by Vanity Fair, they reported that Dave Filoni would be taking on a much greater role at Lucasfilm after the great fan reception that Ahsoka received. Although the viewership numbers for Ahsoka is not exactly what Lucasfilm wanted, they were impressed with how Dave Filoni weaved the story, and of course how the fans received it, with Ahsoka being one of the best received overall projects for the Star Wars fanbase in the last couple of years, besides of course The Mandalorian, even after the disappointment of Season 3. Because of this, the Vanity Fair article reports that Dave Filoni will have a much greater role in the development of Lucasfilm and Star Wars projects from the beginning of production rather than coming in at the end. Previously, he actually served as an advisor, but he stated that there was an issue with this because he believed he was coming into the projects a little late. And although they could alter small things, he wanted to be involved in the greater stories, and it feels as if fans have actually gotten their wish, and Dave Filoni has been promoted. Vanity Fair says this: Dave Filoni has a new mission in Star Wars. After guiding Rosario Dawson's force-wielding hero to distant celestial realms in the first season of Ahsoka, the writer, producer, director, who started out working alongside George Lucas on the animated Clone Wars show, has ascended to a new position at Lucasfilm, one that will give him input into all the galactic storytelling going forward. Dave Filoni said this in an interview: "Now I'm what's called Chief Creative Officer of Lucasfilm. This places Dave Filoni into the development process much earlier and in a much more expansive capacity than his previous advisory duties." Dave Filoni went on to say this: "In the past, in a lot of projects, I would have been brought into it, I would see it after it had already been developed, a good ways in. In this new role, it's opened up to basically everything that's going on. When we're planning the future of what we're doing now, I will be involved in the inception phase." So why exactly is this such a big win for Star Wars fans? And why is this such a big deal? Well, essentially, this puts Dave Filoni directly next to Kathleen Kennedy as the leaders of Lucasfilm. Previously, Dave Filoni would be brought in to develop series after Lucasfilm had already decided what stories they wanted to tell, whether that be The Acolyte, The Book of Boba Fett, so on and so forth. But what this new role does is essentially bring Dave Filoni in at the very beginning of projects, meaning that Dave Filoni now will have a say on what the conceptual ideas will be for Star Wars shows and movies moving forward. A big critique leveled at Lucasfilm is they actually don't pick very good central stories to tell, and although Dave Filoni can come in later and add some interesting details in the projects that Lucasfilm wants to pursue, one of the biggest critiques is a lack of interesting stories and new barriers that need to be crushed in Star Wars. Until Ahsoka, a lot of fans complained that the Star Wars universe was feeling very small, and it was clear that with the Ahsoka series, one of Dave Filoni's goals was to open up this ever-expansive universe, bringing us to an entirely new galaxy, which was a big deal, and one of the first times that Star Wars moved away from the main galaxy and the mainline stories. And although again the viewership numbers for Ahsoka seemed to be overall a disappointment for Lucasfilm, this brand new direction and breath of fresh air was something good for the franchise overall. We've been getting a lot of the mainline stories for Star Wars, and Lucasfilm has been playing things very safe, but it's clear now that bringing Dave Filoni in, he can introduce brand new ideas, brand new concepts, and of course harken back to the old, as although Ahsoka followed a character that had not appeared in any films, it was still very reverent to the prequel and the sequel trilogy, which is something that a lot of fans wanted, and a lot of the characters such as Anakin that were brought in were hugely integral to the story despite it moving forward in a new direction that pioneered past the prequel and the sequel trilogy. This is great news, as again Dave Filoni was hand-selected by George Lucas and learned of the Star Wars mythos under George Lucas when developing the Clone Wars. This is not someone that Lucasfilm brought in after George left, but someone that George put a lot of faith in even before Disney acquired it. So this is phenomenal news. This will very much dictate where we go in the future, whether we'll see intergalactic enemies such as Abeloth, essentially a Force demon, appearing, or whether or not we'll see brand new stories in different galaxies involving Star Wars moving forward. Dave Filoni will have a direct hand in planning it. The actress who played Sabine Wren had this to say about Dave Filoni and his process: "You learn a lot under Dave in general, I think. I know that he's traditional in the sense of how he learned so much from George Lucas. He has these pillars of storytelling that are dear to him, and then everything else can be untraditional." One of the comments that Dave Filoni made after the Ahsoka series premiered that I personally found a lot of solace in when concerning the future of Star Wars was that he said that they wanted to pull heavily from Legends continuity. Although they wanted to tell brand new stories, if there was something in Legends that was important to the fans and that had already been developed, Dave Filoni said it was important to integrate that into the new canon stories that he is telling. That is why he decided to integrate Grand Admiral Thrawn into the Ahsoka series, since it was a concept that was already developed in Legends, and frankly, he said, was developed extremely well in the Thrawn books, introducing us a brand new adversary that was very much different than the likes of Emperor Palpatine or Darth Vader. Dave Filoni also mentioned in the same interview that they would be pulling heavily from Legends going forward, and that a lot of how the story was dictated in Legends continuity would be dictated where they went in the future. And although they would be telling their own unique stories, Legends was still very important to the writer's room and where they would actually end up going with the shows. Thus, why I believe the introduction of Abeloth was very much intentional in the finale of Ahsoka. Dave Filoni in the Vanity Fair interview also went on to say this: "I'm not telling people what to do, but I do feel I'm trying to help them tell the best stories that they want to tell. I need to be a help across the galaxy here, like a part of the Jedi Council almost." Filoni said that his main goal would be to understand the intent of the filmmakers and being a resource to them, with Vanity Fair saying that George Lucas's mentorship under Dave Filoni was one of the critical reasons why they felt it was so important to promote him to this brand new role. The article also goes on to say that Filoni will in fact continuing developing his film as well, and he even mentioned that a second season of Ahsoka is in the talks, stating this: "I can also lend a perspective to the challenges that telling stories will present. I feel more capable of actually being helpful outside of just saying, well, Jedi are like this and Sith are like this." Dave Filoni will move from a role of describing various elements in the Star Wars universe to actually directly crafting it, and it's clear that Dave Filoni and the Ahsoka show's reception show a major pull in how Lucasfilm and the Star Wars franchise will move going forward. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on this? This is essentially the third big promotion that we've seen given to Dave Filoni over the course of Disney purchasing Lucasfilm. And as the years go on and Star Wars continues to develop, it seems as if Dave Filoni is getting more and more control, which again, I believe is an overall good thing, especially because of the fact that he learned directly with George Lucas and had a role in developing a TV series along with George. Sticking to what George Lucas developed is one of the most important aspects of Star Wars moving forward, as well as its past, as George is the architect of these stories, and it's important that we keep a lot of his messages, themes, and characters in line with what he envisioned. But anyway guys, I now want to hear what you think. Again, I'm very optimistic as I very much enjoyed Ahsoka, and while it is far from a perfect series, I do believe in terms of storytelling, it was moving in the correct direction. But I'm also interested in those of you who did not enjoy Ahsoka, and what do you think of the future of Lucasfilm and Dave Filoni given more and more power? What are your thoughts on him being in the writer's room immediately and not just there for input later on? Thanks so much for stopping by the channel today guys, and may the Force be with you.